Okay, let's talk about the otter. Now the otter is, an otter is a playful creature. If you've ever gone to a zoo or seen river otters in the wild, they are constantly playing, it seems like all day long. I mean, if you go to the otter pen and the otters are out in the zoo, there will be a crowd of people just standing around laughing because they're jumping in and out of the water, they're playing with each other, they're tumbling around. Two of them will just be tumbling around each other, swimming and playing and just having a good old time. And so the otter is a very, very playful creature. The otter's motto is this: life should be fun. His favorite saying is, lighten up, don't be so serious. Trust me, it'll work out. How many have ever heard that before? Trust me, it's going to work out. Otters are known as the talker. They're extroverts and they're optimists. They always think, tomorrow's going to be a better day than today. They're very, very optimistic, sometimes over the top optimistic. And one word that describes them is popular. Whereas the lion was powerful, the otter is popular because they're so playful and friendly. Some otter characteristics are these: they're very charming, they're friendly, they're excitable, they're impulsive, they're fun-seeking, people-loving, schmoozers. They can talk you into doing anything because they make it so much fun. It's just like, was it in the book Huckleberry Finn, was it Huck Finn? He charged guys $0.25 to come and do his job for him, to whitewash the fence. Isn't that how it worked? He talked them into it, told them how much fun it was whitewashing, and I haven't read that in a long time. I may not be getting it quite right. But anyway, he talked people into doing his work for him. He had the gift. Otters can make friends anywhere. They have never met a stranger. You walk into a doctor's office, and if there's an otter sitting there, they'll be talking to you in a couple of minutes. If they're in the grocery line behind you, they'll be asking you, "Oh, I've never seen that brand before. What is that?" And then, they'll draw you into the conversation because they're just that kind of personality. They're so relational. They just love to talk to people, anybody, everywhere. They love to talk. They will tell stories by the hour. Otters are the best and most wonderful storytellers on the planet. They can just hold you spellbound as they're telling the story. And every time they tell the story, it gets a little bit better than it did last time. They love to be the center of attention. They're the life of the party. Otters, they love bright colors. They're great on stage. They're wonderful storytellers and entertainers and public speakers. It's always funny to me when I watch some, maybe a TV show, and they have all these otters playing doctors. It just doesn't fit. The personalities do not fit, but they're such great entertainers. You would not want a beaver playing the doctor, which they do in real life, but you don't want them on television because they'd be very boring, drab characters. It would not come across as something you would want to watch. So anyway, that always fascinates me, is to see the miscasting of temperaments. But occasionally in some shows you see actually the character and the temperament of the actor seem to line up, or the actor is so good at playing different temperaments they can actually act like the person that they're supposed to be in a way that's actually convincing. But I don't see that very often. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes I'm just scratching my head like, are you trying to make that look real or what, Do you ever talk to the TV? I do. I was like, writers, producers, why did you do that? Geez. So anyway, I look at the way they make it. I'm sorry, I just kind of reverse engineer it sometimes, and maybe I shouldn't, but yeah, it's the beaver in me. But anyway, otters are wonderful storytellers. They're great entertainers. They're great preachers, motivational speakers. They're awesome. They are inclined to exaggerate, though. It's like one lady was saying she went into the house. She was visiting at the house of a friend of hers who was an otter. And when she walked in the house, the lady said, "All the cats on our street are dying of mange." And her daughter, this lady's daughter, is just sitting there rolling her eyes at her mother saying, yeah, the neighbor's cat has mange. But when the otter tells it, every cat on the street has it. You know, they're dying. It's just, they make it a wonderful story. Oh my God, this one street is hit by mange, you know. Listen to me, I'll tell you all about it. You know, and it was only one cat. Yeah, Brother Sel. That's evangelistically speaking. If an otter preacher tells you how many people were in attendance on Sunday, he was counting the people, and maybe he counted some of them twice, and there was a couple of flies on the wall, and a service dog that came in, and some kids that ran in and out during the service, and he's counted all of them, you know. So they'll add at least 50% to the number, to the real number. And now, for the rest of us, for beavers, we think that's lying. Oh my God, why are they lying about the people? There was 113 people there, not 200. Can't they count? You know. Us beavers think that's just outright lying, you know, when somebody exaggerates. No, it's not true. I read that same article in the paper, and it said 50, not 85, you know. So anyways, some of us, you know, do not like the exaggeration stuff, but some of us love to exaggerate. Just, well, it's kind of fun to exaggerate. You know, it adds color to the story, doesn't it?
All fishermen and hunters.
All fishermen and hunters. How big was the fish? It was this big. Yeah, it's bigger every time. You know, when, and especially older guys, when they start talking about their prowess in high school athletics. Every year they have a birthday, you know, they ran faster and they tackled harder and they hit the ball further out of the ballpark, you know. So anyway, if you're an otter, you know, you have a little bit of a tendency to exaggerate, but it's all in good fun, right? We're just trying to entertain people. So some other otter characteristics. Otters are very curious, very curious. If you have an otter in the house and you wrap the Christmas present, the otter will go under the tree when you're not there, pick it up, weigh it, shake it. If they're really curious, they'll very carefully unwrap it, see what it is, and then wrap it back up again where you do not know that they peeked. Because they're very, very curious. They just love to find out, what is it? What is it? They're spontaneous, they're creative, they're enthusiastic. If you're throwing a party, make sure you invite at least 2 really well-known otters to come to the party so that you have a good time. Everybody has a good time. Don't sit them by each other because they'll be telling each other stories all night. Put them at opposite ends of the room so they'll be entertaining everybody, and the party will be a great success because you had a couple real storytellers and live wires in your room. In fact, in some places you can even hire people to come in who are, you know, like bona fide otters, and they actually will liven up your dinner party. You know, amen. Sounds like a great job, doesn't it? Get paid for just telling stories that you're going to tell anyway. So they love to talk, to be the center of attention. I've already said all that. Okay. Let me get down on the right slide here. They are great salesmen. If you go down to the car lot, the chances are you're talking to an otter. If you listen to their sales pitch about that car never gets stuck in the snow or in the mud. I heard a guy say one time, salesman told him, no, this car is so light, even if it snows, it goes on top of the snow. He believed that until it snowed. And he realized, you know, this car needs change just like every other chain in any other car in the snow. They're great salesmen, they're great networkers. They know people who know people who know people, but if you ask them what the people's names are, they can't quite remember because they haven't paid attention strongly enough. Otters are strongly influenced by their environment. They're very susceptible to peer pressure. They want to be popular. They forgive people quickly. They want to stay on very relational terms with everybody. And so they want to be accepted, but they're very susceptible to peer pressure. Now, one characteristic of otters, one way you can know for sure you are talking to a bona fide otter, when they talk to you, they will grab your sleeve. or grab your coat. Now, if you're a beaver or one of the introverted types, if somebody comes up to you, first of all, they've gotten within 3 feet of you. They've exceeded the space limit. They've invaded your space and you're starting to feel uncomfortable. And then they reach out and they grab you by the sleeve and you're thinking, oh my God, what's going on? But just realize they're an otter. That's what they do. They're so relational, they want to make contact. And if you look away from them, they'll grab you, tug your sleeve. I was just talking to an otter not too long ago, and every time I quit making direct eye contact with them, they would move their hand or do something to draw my eye right back to them. Because otters just have this innate sense of wanting to be the center of attention. And they want your ultimate focus. So they want your undivided attention. So it's a fun thing being around otters. Okay, otter weaknesses. They have a lack of organization and discipline. They can be impulsive and very excitable. They'll get really excited very, very quickly. They're great starters. They want to get on board with every new thing, but they tend to be very poor finishers. Now, if an otter says, I will make the coffee for such and such an event, they may come, they actually may put the coffee in the pot, but make sure they've plugged it in, because they probably got so busy talking to someone, the coffee pot never got plugged in or something happened along those lines. Otters are great starters, they're poor finishers, and they tend to talk too much. And because otters talk too much, they're actually insensitive to other people because they're so occupied with telling their story that they're not paying attention to what other people are doing. And if an otter is trying to tell you a story, but you have other things on your mind, you're going to be sitting there, your eyes are glazing over, trying to be polite while they're telling you the story, and you really need to get on with what you need to get on with. But the otter does not notice the fact that you're looking away, you're backing up, you're trying to move to what you need to do. They're not taking the subtle hints you're dropping because they just keep on telling their story. So in that sense, otters are insensitive. Even though they care about people, they sometimes don't notice what's really going on. Otters tend to avoid the fine print. Oh, the idea is great. Oh, you mean I had to do this? I had to do that? Okay. So they tend to avoid the fine print. Frequently, they forget details. An otter lady shopper, she'll park her car. She is so excited about going to the mall. She will park her car, and when she comes out, she will have no idea where the car is. Florence Littauer, in her book, tells the story. She parked her car in a 7-story parking structure, went into the mall for several hours, came out, and had no clue where she parked her car. And so she does her otter thing. Oh, poor distressed female. She's looking around, and some guy comes up and says, what's going on? Could I help you? Well, I don't know where I parked my car. And he's looking at her like, you don't know where you parked your car? And then he asked her, well, what kind of car is it? I don't know. She said, we have 2 cars. Well, which one did you drive? I don't remember. So the guy says, after a minute, he says, well, do you have your car keys? And maybe we can figure it out from your car keys. So she didn't know where her keys were, and so she had to dump her purse out on the curb to pick through it to find the car keys. And then by the time it was over, she had several people walking all 7 stories of this parking garage. They were having a great time. They were acting like they'd known each other all their lives, and they finally found which car she drove, one of the 2 cars, up on a certain floor, and everybody had a great time, and she thought it was wonderful. When she got home and told her husband, he's like, I can't believe you did that. So anyway, otters tend to forget the details. They always need something new in their life. They like change. They like changing jobs. They like moving from one house to another. They like moving to a new community. Otters like change. And they tend to form many relationships, but frequently shallow friendships. And finally, they're quickly attracted to members of the opposite sex. So that's something because of that impulsive excitability. They're so relational that's a weakness, and they have to watch that. If you're an otter, you need to watch that and learn to recognize those warning signs in yourself when you're being attracted to somebody. So what is the otter's gift? Or how do we balance out the otter? I'm going to kind of speed through this, and maybe we'll pick up here next week. But otters have to force themselves to get organized. I just talked to an otter a few days ago, and he was saying his dad was the best thing that ever happened to him. He said he had the otter temperament all his life, but his dad forced him to be organized, to write things down, to keep a schedule, to get a day timer, and to do those things. And he said, it's the best thing that ever happened to me because my dad has helped me be successful. Otters must learn to discipline themselves to follow through what they start. Because once the new wears off, it's easy to say, oh, I just don't want to do this anymore. No, you started it, you need to finish it. And so that's an important thing. For otters to be successful in life, they have to learn not only getting started at a good speed, but how to follow through. Florence Littauer, who wrote the book Personality Plus, is an otter. And this is what she said. This was her rule of thumb. She said, I had to train myself to talk about half as much as I did before. She said, I couldn't set a percentage goal for myself like 37% less because I'm an otter. I don't know what 37% is, but I do have a handle on 50%. I can try to figure out if I don't tell every other story, I'll have talked half as much. And so what she did was she learned to allow other people to talk and to enter into the conversation. And she began to learn people's names and to become more sensitive to what's going on in other people, learning to listen more. And so that's very important for otters to do. And in that way, they become more sensitive to other people and other people's needs. Otters need to develop the spiritual fruit of self-control and contentment. Jesus said we can be content with such things as we have. These are gifts that the Holy Spirit gives us. And then otters need to work on developing lasting friendships. Next week we'll talk about a temperament that they're still friends with the people they were friends with in second grade because they make those kind of friends and they keep friends all throughout their lives. So what is the otter's gift? Well, the otter's gift is to make life and work fun. That's the gift. God's message through the otter is enjoy life. A merry heart does good like a medicine. Jesse Duplantis has that otter gift of being able to tell stories. And, he makes you laugh, but a merry heart does good like a medicine. In fact, he has like at least five videos entitled that, A Merry Heart Does Good Like a Medicine. And, it's a blessing, but he's had to get organized. And he and his wife have had to work together to get him organized and disciplined so that they can carry out the ministry that God has given them.